Okay, this is an ALS 500 mobile amplifier. Excuse this little cell phone video. But it has all these wires here burned up. Now somebody's worked on this one before. You see a black wire here. This jumps around a foil trace. This foil trace here has been vaporized. They put Mylar tape in it a few places to try to, I peeled some off over here. But somebody put Mylar tape in this to try to repair it. These wires were all melded together. I pulled them apart. And you can see here is another foil trace right here that's melded, comes over here. So if we follow all this mess, I had to take this filter board loose. The wiring in this thing's just atrocious. But if we follow all this this wiring back from the culprit here is this red wire here that's a source. Look at how black it is here. This red wire here has changed color a little bit because it's gotten so hot. If we follow this red wire back, it goes through the amplifier and comes up and it ties right here. The red wire comes up and ties to the high, there it is up here, ties to the high current leads that come right from the battery. This is something MFJ added when they added this circuit board. They did it up in Starkville. Whoever changed the circuit board flipped the 10 meters and the 160 meters around, and that messes up the harmonic suppression. You can kind of correct that, but if your amplifier hasn't been corrected, it fails FCC. And then they not only did that when they did this modification, but at 2 points here on the PA module, right here, this red wire, and look at how close, I have the high current feed wires off, but look how close this is to the circuit board foil. And this wire here ties right to the high current 12 volt that runs the power amplifier. And that's one of the wires. And that wire actually goes out on these cat jacks right here to the cables that go to the remote head. So if you get, and so does this one, eventually this one here, through all the band selection cables, they all go out, along with the band selection cables, they all go out to the remote head. So if you get a short in the remote, or any kind of a problem, or if you reverse the 2 plugs that go into the remotes on these ALS500s, you wind up tying the high current fuse leads wind up being tied right to ground. That's why all these foil traces vaporize. Now, the other thing this can do is you can have whatever the current is that the resistance of those wires will allow. You can have that amount of current in the cat cables, and it can be on your carpeting or underneath your carpeting or run through your house or your car or something like that. And those wires get red hot when you get a short. So this all comes from when you tie a little conductor like this into a high current lead, it's right in parallel with these, or over at this end, this other little red wire right here is tied in parallel with the high current leads right here that used to go up to these points. There's no fuses on these leads. If they would have just put a 5 or 10 ohm quarter watt resistor on these leads, probably would have cost them a penny or two. They wouldn't have this problem. So there's multiple problems in these amplifiers the way MFJ build them. If we look over here at this low pass filter, pull that out of the way, see if I get a little better light. That's a solder bridge. That's actually shorting this turn to this turn. So the other thing MFJ never did in any of these amplifiers, they never checked the low pass filters for standing wave ratio, looking at the PA module side of the filter, looking at that side of the filter with a 50 ohm load on the amplifier, And the SWR on these things is, some of them is atrocious. Sometimes it's 5 to 1. So even if you have a 1-to-1 SWR on the antenna, you can wind up with a 5-to-1 SWR on the PA, and you don't know it. And it's caused by defects, manufacturing defects in these filters. The PP100s in this amplifier that this is using, it has this old bias board. I designed this bias board like in 1991 or something. But this bias board is okay for a 2SC2879, but it's not any good for the PP100s. And so the PP100s will take off and oscillate for a second every time you key it, they'll get a big transient. So this board needs modified to help. And the other thing that hurts the PP100 life is they use this black heatsink. This black heatsink in the ALS500 is anodized. You can see these little lugs here. Now this board foil, the ground plane on this board, is supposed to be grounded, but anodizing is an electrical insulator. So this board is no longer grounded when it's bolted down. This board isn't grounded to the heatsink, and the heatsink isn't grounded to the chassis. So the way I initially designed this was the heatsink pulled down, a bare heatsink pulled down against the chassis with multiple bolts. And the heatsink was bare aluminum, and through spacers, this foil on this board was grounded to the heatsink, and the heatsink was grounded at multiple points through bolts and plus being pulled against the chassis. So it wound up being a real reliable ground, and never had a problem with that. Then they stuck this black anodized heatsink in the amplifier, and so I don't know why they did that. But the anodizing does two things. It has a lot higher thermal resistance than bare aluminum does. So the transistor now has an insulating layer of oxide between it and the aluminum. That's one thing, so it doesn't conduct heat out of the transistors near as well. And now nothing that depended on being bolted down to the bare heatsink, now none of that stuff is grounded. So MFJ had to come along to make these things work and add little solder lugs here and there. So all they're using is a long skinny screw down to the chassis to get a ground on the heatsink. So this is why the later ALS500Ms are just a mess. This is the other thing they did is the remote. The initial board I did uses the voltage drop on an LED as a reference source for the fault circuits. MFJ paralleled a second LED with that LED in the remote. So when you plug a remote in, the sensitivity of the fault protection circuits goes way up. So there's multiple reasons why these things trip for SWR faults when they shouldn't. And one of them is if you have a remote plugged in to the ALS500M, and you have this board you have to have this board, I guess, to use the remote. But if you plug a remote head into this ALS500, what happens is it changes the LED voltage on that line, and it pulls the reference voltages out of spec to for the SWR fault, and you'll get these faults, SWR faults. Sometimes you get real ones though, because the transistors will spike and oscillate when you initially key. And that actually does, when they oscillate, it's just on some random frequency, and that'll give you an SWR fault. So these things are kind of, you can fix them. I mean, you can find a problem if they come in and they've quit working. You can find a problem and fix it. But it's a hand grenade if you send them out and you think you fixed it, and you think you're a great tech and you fix these things and they're all set and they're super, and you think, no problem, I can turn them around real fast. To fix these things correctly takes probably a day or two on one amplifier, and nobody wants to pay that. So this is where we have a problem with ALS 500Ms, and unfortunately, every one of these things that has the remote, or every one that has the black heatsink in it, is just going to be this way because of all the screw-ups they did in Starkville.